Hello, hello. Today we're going to talk about 9 ways that you can improve your communication with your tween. So, if you are struggling to figure out how you can talk with your tween, how to get them to talk to you, with you, any sort of communication, then by the time we're done here, you'll have 9 options for improving that communication. And you can use these as tools as you move forward throughout those tween years. So, according to a study published by the National Library of Medicine, tweens feel more satisfied with their lives when they can openly communicate with their parents. So that is good news, because if you can create an environment where your tween feels like, wow, I can talk to my mom, they're more satisfied with their lives. They're going to have a better quality life. And this high quality parent-child communication is defined as like a conversation that provides structure with decisions and a tolerance for different points of view. Now that is the tricky bit, because as your tween moves through those tween years, there's going to be a greater difference of opinion, or a difference of opinion over more things, as they are trying to figure out who they are, what they're about, and sometimes it seems like they're directly opposing you just for the sake of opposing you, but they're trying to figure out who they are, like apart from you. But when you can tolerate those different viewpoints, ride them out, let them kind of sit with them for a bit and figure out, is that really what I think? Is it not what I think? And those are going to change over time. So here are some ways that we can facilitate this kind of high quality conversation. Even if you've got a full schedule, we've all got full schedules, right? How do you fit conversations in? You're busy, you're working, your tweens are doing school, maybe you're homeschooling and working, and it never seems like there's enough time. So how can we fit these conversations in here? Number 1, change the location. It's easy to have a fresh perspective in a new location. So if you are always butting heads at home and you're like, this is not working, how can we have a conversation? Take it to a coffee shop. They're probably not going to yell at you in a coffee shop. You're not going to yell at them in a coffee shop. It probably feels different. Plus, you buy them a special drink. It just changes the whole atmosphere. And have it like no agenda with that. Which brings us to the don't have an agenda. Or if you do, let them know ahead of time so they don't feel kind of like blindsided by, oh, I thought I was having a conversation with mom just for fun, and all of a sudden you've got this agenda. Now that's super hard, and this is coming from a mom who, my mom did that to me. I get it, and I find myself really, really working hard not to do that with my daughters. Maybe this isn't an issue for you, but if you tend to be very much like a check the box kind of person, this might be something to be mindful of, that it doesn't feel like you have an agenda just because you have a few minutes together and we have to talk about these things. Can there be any time where there's just no agenda, where it's just, it might feel like you're wasting time because, oh, we have things to talk about, and you just relax and let the conversation happen as it will. So that's 1 and 2. Number 3, have fun, short conversations. So not every conversation has to go like deep about their deepest, darkest, like what do I want to do with my life and who do I want to be? It doesn't all have to be philosophical. Sometimes it can just be silly, fun things like share a meme or whatever the latest, YouTube short or whatever it is that they're into, that they think is funny. See if you can find something funny about it, even if you're like, I don't know how that's funny. But the important thing is they're sharing that with you. So just enjoy the fact that they're sharing it. laugh because they think it's funny too. And then you'll have that shared experience. It'll be very lighthearted. So eventually, when you got to talk about something heavier, then it balances out a little bit. All right. Number 4, facilitate better decisions. So when you're having conversations and they're trying to make a decision about something, when the stakes are low, like if it doesn't really matter, do they choose a burger or a wrap? Do they choose to buy this Lego set or that Lego set? Whatever it is, those decisions that don't really matter, but they matter to your tween, let them make those decisions. Let them make decisions that matter to them, but aren't like life and death. They're not going to alter the trajectory of their life, all of that stuff. Because they need to practice making decisions, and they're going to feel empowered. They're going to take ownership out of the over the outcome. And then when the stakes are a little bit higher, when there's there's more on the line, then they have some practice making decisions. Even, do they want to play soccer this year or basketball? It doesn't really matter. So if they make that decision, they have to live with that decision for the season. But then next year they might realize, oh, you know what? I said I wanted to play soccer last year. Didn't really enjoy it so much. I don't want to do that this year. Okay, they learned. They're learning to make decisions. And that is super, super important. Number 5, text. Yes, texting is conversation, but it is not the whole conversation, but it can be a conversation starter. And as your tween is, like, depending where they are in those tween years, and we think about, does your tween have a phone or doesn't have a phone? And that is a whole thing unto itself. Personally, I think the longer you can do without a phone, the better. But if they are out and about, maybe they need a phone with no data, so they're not, randomly scrolling online. Whatever the case, sometimes it just feels easier to start a hard conversation, sort of open that door, warm it up a little bit, if they text you. And then you can take it off of text, because they've already said the hard part, or that they need to talk, or whatever it is. And then you can talk about it face to face. But then they didn't have to broach that subject while they were looking at you. It's kind of the equivalent of way back before cell phones. I remember leaving notes for my mom. And so you could do the same thing with notes, with texting, same idea. I didn't want to say something to her face, but I had a question. And so that opened up that conversation. So that's how we can use texting. Number 6, practice silence when you are together. This is hard. Because again, you think we're in the same room and we need to talk about these things, and they need to clean the room, and I need to tell them about this, and I need to remind them about this. And that becomes their whole life, is you reminding them, telling them, like, information coming this way. So if sometimes you can just sit with that silence where there's no instructions, there's no advice, it's just in the same space, and enjoying that same space, being comfortable in that same space, they will talk. You have to give them the space. Number 7, listen with curiosity. So when we are thinking about, how can we have better conversations with our tweens? Listening, but not just listening, not just actually listening to the words that they're saying, but trying to hear what they're saying, trying to understand what they're saying by being curious. Like, I wonder why they feel like that. Or how did they come to that conclusion? But with genuine curiosity, often, like, I know sometimes if you're in work mode and then your tween wants to talk to you and then your brain is a million miles away and you're just making noises to make it seem like you're listening. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has done that. And if you haven't, kudos to you. But if I haven't been actively listening, that conversation potential, totally wasted. It's better to listen to curiosity when they're talking, like, okay, I am here, I am focused, and then I'll do something else, even if it's not convenient. Again, super hard. I don't succeed at all the time. Even now, it's a skill that you have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. But it builds trust. It makes them feel loved. Like, hey, mom is willing to listen. It's a skill worth building. Number 8, keep their confidence. So if they tell you something, don't blab it. But sometimes you might say something and you're just like speaking to somebody because you're proud of what they've done. And then all of a sudden they think, why is mom telling that somebody all my secrets? Well, you didn't realize it was a secret. So talk with them about this. Is this something that is like common knowledge? Is this something you just want me to know? Ask them. But in general, whatever they say, unless they're telling other people too, generally we just keep it to ourselves. We want to protect their privacy and speak of things in general terms, which is why it's super hard in groups where there's a bunch of moms, like in our Facebook community, a bunch of moms. Well, how do you talk about things without actually talking about your kid? You never want to throw your kid under the bus. You never want to sort of out them on what's going on in their life. So instead, in those communities and in our Tween Talk community, we can say, as a mom, here's what I'm going through. As a mom, I'm struggling with this. And then we're not putting it out there on our kids. And number 9, give advice when asked. That's the tricky bit. The giving advice is easy, but only when asked. So I don't always want advice. I bet you don't always want advice. Sometimes you just need a listening ear. You need a safe place to like just say stuff and process. Ask your tween, do they want advice? So they're talking to you, and instead of just jumping into, oh, here's a plan, here's what you can do, say, would you like advice? And if they say no, then zip your lips and just like let it go. And let it go. When they want advice, they know that they can come to you and that you'll probably have plenty of advice. But you can be that sounding board for them. All right. So there are the 9 ways to improve that communication with your tween. Number 1, change location. Number 2, let them know if you do have some agenda. Number 3, have a fun, short conversation. It doesn't always have to be long. Number 4, facilitate better decisions by allowing them to make those low stakes decisions. Number 5, texting. Yes, texting is a conversation starter. Number 6, practice silence when you're together. 7, listen with curiosity. 8, keep their confidence. And number 9, give advice only when they ask. So I hope that has been helpful. If you're not part of the Tween Talk community, please join us. Request to join on Facebook and you can get in there. You have got thousands of good conversations ahead of you with your tween. So if you use some of those 9 ways to improve your communication, you will build trust and show them the value of their thoughts and their feelings. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Tween Talk, and I hope to see you next time.